Yeah.
Awesome. Okay.
Ready?
Yep. Let's go. Let's laugh. We are imperfect after all.
Okay.
Hello and welcome to the Imperfect Us podcast.
I'm Leanne Camilleri.
And I'm Lisa Downs. As hosts of the Imperfect Us podcast, we share relatable stories that celebrate we are all perfectly imperfect humans leading perfectly imperfect lives. We discover practical and evidence-based strategies that draw on the science of wellbeing and positive psychology that help us to uncover the barriers that might hold us back from being our authentic selves and turn them into opportunities so that we can show up more consistently, doing what we really aspire to do and who we want to be.
We acknowledge the Wadawurrung and the Kaurna people as traditional custodians of the beautiful lands on which this podcast is being recorded. We pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging, and extend this respect to other First Nations people who are here with us today. So, let's get started. Hello and thank you for joining us today. Today we're speaking with Kathryn Lovewell. Kathryn is the founder of Kind Mind Academy, a learning hub and community for mindful self-compassion. Kathryn is a certified mindful self-compassion teacher and best-selling author of The Little Book of Self-Compassion, The Voices in My Head, and Every Teacher Matters, inspiring well-being through mindfulness. Kathryn is the creator of The Booster Way, a unique approach that encourages children, parents, educators and coaches to engage with their compassionate voice and manage their critical voice. Kathryn also designed and teaches Compassionate Body, a self-compassion program developed to support women struggling with their relationship with their body. Along with this, Kathryn has also taught in juvenile women's prison, teaching art, and developed and delivered a mindful stress management course for men incarcerated mainly for violent crimes. We're really excited to learn from Kathryn today, so let's dive on in. Kathryn, thank you so much for joining us today.
It's an absolute pleasure to be here. Thank you for the invitation.
We're really excited to speak to you, and we would love to learn more about what led you to your self-compassion work.
It is quite a long story, so I'll try and give you the edited version. But the truth of it really is that it started when I was little. So when I was born, I had some health issues and they couldn't discover what was wrong with me. And at about 9 months, one of my mum's friend, who happened to be a doctor, said, what's happening there? Because my mum wasn't believed, even though she was a nurse. She said, there's something going on. Anyway, that was the beginning of a lifelong journey of challenge with my health, with my body. And they discovered there were some things that were wrong with one of my kidneys. And so I spent the first sort of 10 years in and out of hospital, in and out, with lots of tests and scary emergencies into the hospital in the middle of the night and lots of really unpleasant symptoms and things. And then that progressed into something different. And then my body just started to fall apart in a different way. And I can look back now and say, the big picture is I have a rare condition. But it took 48 years to be diagnosed.
Oh, wow.
So I would say the truth of the self-compassion journey, really, I was seeking peace in my body, and I judged myself terribly. So I made up the story, as children do. I made up lots of very creative stories that weren't necessarily very helpful, that because everyone kept saying, what's wrong with you? That's what doctors say, really, isn't it? Well, what's wrong with you? Tell us what's wrong. Then I made up the story. I translated that to I'm wrong. So my body's broken. It doesn't seem to work like my friends' bodies. And therefore, I must be broken. And so this was quite an insidious and very subtle seed that was born very young. Add on top of that being a very sensitive young girl and very aware of people's emotions. And even though I didn't necessarily have the language, I knew if there was upset in a room, and I was really desperately wanting to be a good girl. So I was brought up with a very strong Catholic Irish faith, Irish Catholic background. So we've got all these very interesting layers as to why and how I started to make up a lot of stories or believe certain dogmas and structures and information that I was receiving as a child, that there was something wrong with me and that I needed to do better. And I needed to be something other than I was. And what I was wasn't good enough. So there's the fodder for a really vicious, healthy, not healthy, critical voice. That was really, now I didn't understand that or really recognize it at all. But looking back, that was the starting point that led me to a life of seeking. I'm a seeker. I have a deep desire for a spiritual life. I want to live peacefully. I want to do good, give service, all of these core aspects of who I believe I want to be, how I want to show up in the world. So that showed up as being an excellent brownie guide. I did a good turn every day, but there was a very strong critical voice that said that if I didn't do that, or if I had any humanness showing, certainly I think one of the hardest emotions for me was jealousy. If I had a little hint of jealousy that my friend had really nice shiny shoes and I didn't have nice shiny shoes, or something very, very simple, innocent, then I would berate myself and I was a very bad person and I should be better. And it was a very, very painful place to live. Now, fast forward, going through the schooling system, never being the A-star student. I had to really work hard to be successful in academics. I'm not an academic, but I love learning and I'm a very curious mind. So then add on top of that the comparison mind. I had a lovely friend, Sarah. Gosh, she was an amazing painter. I love to paint. I did a lot of painting and creative arts. Drama and art were my absolute passion. But of course, there's a wonderful world of comparison in those things, and it's very overtly comparative. Now, so fast forward again, and after my degree, I ended up back in school, my school, actually. I was invited to go back and teach because I had the specialism of drama and they were developing drama in the school. And then, of course, the added bonus of my perfectionist started to give birth to itself because I needed to do everything right. And obviously, I went in as a teacher trainee in so much that I was what they called a licensed teacher on the job because I had experience of teaching outside, but not the formal. And so that meant I was obviously proving myself. Everything had to be done in triplicate. The education system, the demands of what's expected. And so, yes, that amped up my perfectionism, needing to get everything right, needing to be brilliant. And the good enough did not compute. It had to be perfect. Then I became a parent. I'm giving you the full picture. I hope this isn't too big an answer. But I hope it sort of demonstrates the depth and the complexity of the critical voice and how powerful the self-compassionate voice is as the antidote to the inner suffering of a mind that puts layers and layers and layers of judgment on one's own heart and mind. I became a mum. My kids didn't sleep. I mean, they just didn't sleep. And it's like, oh, everybody in the world wants to tell a mum how to help you do better. Let me tell you why your child isn't sleeping. And if you do this, then you'll be doing it better. And had all sorts of challenges. And bless their little cotton socks, they just didn't want to sleep. They went to sleep beautifully. I did everything right. Bath, bottle, bed, blah, 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 blah. And so I made it all about, I'm doing it wrong. I must be wrong. What's wrong with me? This was sort of a running theme. And why can't I get them to stay asleep? And so on and so forth. I then learned I was drawn to do a lot of beautiful therapeutic work. And that's where I learned meditation and began my mindfulness journey. It wasn't called mindfulness in the way I learned it, but that's really basically what it was. And the short version is, after that, I ended up working one-to-one with clients, working in juvenile education, prison education, then education with men. I created a stress management course that I brought pure mindfulness and lots of heart-centered work into it. So a mindful stress management training. And I looked across the whole board, including those beautiful students, including a wide variety of differing learning abilities across the community, and my friends, and in the mirror. And we all had this thing. It's like, it was the same thing. And it's like, what is this thing that seems to tell us that we're not any good? That no matter what we've achieved, some of my friends are really highly accomplished human beings. They're amazing. And some of my clients just could not see it. I've worked with some of the top scientists in the world and extraordinary people that have had incredible success. And there's this kernel of meanness inside them. And anyway, I gave birth to the Self-Love Club, I called it. I called upon my closest and trusted friends and colleagues. I said, we need to sit down and we don't move until we work out what is this thing that stops us from being truly happy, truly fulfilled, satisfied, happy in our own skin. And I think it put out a very strong rocket of desire to the universe because we'd meet each week, and then I got this lovely email from a beautiful man called Shamash Aladina, who's written lots of lovely, wonderful mindfulness books. Mindfulness for Dummies being one of his most well-known. And he was hosting Mindful Self-Compassion into London, into England, and that was it. So 3 of the girls of the Self-Love Club said, right, we're in. And that was the beginning of truly understanding, all of these layers, all of these stories in my head are because of this critical voice. And no one had taught me that there was a compassionate voice for the inside. I was a very compassionate little girl. I'd help anyone. I worked on Meals on Wheels, and I supported the elderly. I did all sorts of things. I looked after my friends, just like all of my darling friends, all of my beautiful students. We see it so easily. We can give it so easily on the outside. And yet I hadn't received the message. I didn't understand. I didn't recognize, we can do the U-turn. We can give this to ourselves. And all of my inner work, all of the different modalities, all of the things that I learned, all of the wonderful positive psychology, all of that, I couldn't fully receive it whilst I had a voice whispering or screaming in my head saying, you're rubbish. You're no good at this. Why are you even, so the imposter syndrome and all those layers. And so my life radically changed the day I learned about mindful self-compassion. Yeah.
Such a powerful story to share that. And I'm really pleased that you started from the very beginning, because I don't think you're alone in that. I think there are so many of us that, as Adam Grant talks about, we are often givers. It's our natural thing to do because we're caring, we're kind, we're community-minded, etc., etc. But that voice that does, the critical voice that pops up, likes to tell us that we're not good enough and that it's our fault. It's not anyone else's, it's just us. But when Adam Grant talks about being a giver, the more you give, if we're not giving back to ourselves, how can we actually really do the best job at giving to others and ourselves? Yes. Which is why self-compassion is such an amazing concept that I'm really looking forward to diving into.
Oh, well, thank you for listening to the full story.
Love it.
It's really interesting. It's only obviously in hindsight you see the layers upon layers upon layers upon layers. And there's lots of other influences why our critical voice might be louder for some people and not for others. But understanding that this is all perfectly natural.
Yeah.
I thought I was the only one.
We do. We've done that journey before, Leanne, haven't we?
Kathryn, you're not the only one because I'm the only one.
No, sorry, you're both wrong. It's actually me.
Yes, uniquely flawed. It's only me that's this crazy and this rubbish. And yes, because I'm right as well. We've got to remember we've got a lovely ego as well. So I must be right that it's only me.
So funny, isn't it? Well, Kathryn, we're really curious to understand what self-compassion is, but also more importantly, why it's an essential practice for psychological well-being.
Yeah. So the simplest way to define self-compassion is, of course, treating yourself with that same kindness that you would treat a really good friend or a loved one. It's that simple.
Yeah.
So we're kind to ourselves in times of trouble, when we're struggling. And we also, and this is the bit we're sort of laughing about, also recognizing that my experience in this suffering, in this challenge, in this struggle, is part of being human. It's our common human experience. And so suddenly we can melt that isolation, that there's a wrongness about me and it's only me and I'm flawed in a way that, I mean, I truly believed I was innately bad. That's how desperately painful my critical voice was. And that wasn't fixable. I was not fixable. And this is, we've worked in our local women's centre back in Sutton, London Borough Sutton, and we will have women saying, but you don't understand, I am broken. They've experienced domestic violence and all sorts of trauma. And this is how painful and how strong it can be. So, I mean, obviously, I was trained through the Centre of Mindful Self-Compassion, Kristen Neff and Christopher Germer's teaching model. The three core elements Neff talks about are mindfulness, common humanity, and self-kindness. So those three elements are, I think they hold that embrace of, can we be friendly? Can we be friendly and friends with ourselves? Can we offer that same friendliness that we so easily and readily offer our loved ones back inside? Especially when we're struggling, especially when we make a mistake, especially when we don't look as we want to look, perhaps, especially if our bodies don't work the way that we really want them to work, especially if we just can't get that A star or whatever we are projecting would be the perfect me doesn't show up. And to be able to meet that with loving kindness, to meet that with friendliness, tenderness, caring, consideration, respect, even if, darn it, we're not perfect.
It's such a beautiful way that you articulate that, Kathryn. And you talk about that common humanity. And I think when we realize that we're not alone in that experience, there is a weight that lifts, isn't there? Because you see for yourself that I'm not alone in this. And I see it with young people when we talk about it. Oh, so someone else has those thoughts too. And when you can feel very alone and isolated, can't you, in that? Yes. I know my voice can be... I've somehow made friends with it in some ways, you know.
Yes, what we need to do. It's beautiful.
Make friends or peace or whatever you'd like to say. But I think before you do that, it can be a very bumpy and hard ride.
It really can. And I think it was a pivotal moment when the penny dropped during my first initial training. I just had this thought, reflecting on my pain body. I struggled with chronic pain for decades. And I just had this aha moment. It's like, oh my goodness, anyone who'd lived inside my body, gone through what my body and me have gone through, they too would have found it hard. Oh my gosh. And it was like this, like someone had just opened my eyes to, I'm not alone. This is a natural response. Of course, you've struggled and this is really difficult. Anyone would have found that difficult. And it alleviated, it changed the way I received that critical voice from that day onward. It's like, oh, this actually, of course, this is hard. This has been hard. It's hard living in this body. Oh, wow. Suddenly I'm not wrong anymore. I'm human.
Yeah.
So yes, the common humanity piece is very, very powerful. Everyone struggles sometimes, even if they present or they've got every success in the world. I've worked one-to-one with billionaires and really successful people, and they're still human.
Yeah.
And things still hurt. And they still want to show up in a way that they feel good inside about who they are, regardless of any external judgments, positive or negative.
Yeah.
And that's a game changer.
Yeah. Kathryn, it just reminded me, that whole conversation you talked about the rest of your body, how that felt as well. I know Leanne and I, from a long time ago, we started talking about naming our inner critical voice and actually acknowledging them and changing our relationship with them. So rather than it being them again, we were able to change that to, well, thank you. That's really good information for us to hold on to, but I think I've got this now, so it's okay for you just to jump on back into the back seat, and we'll be back at another time.
That's beautiful. Yes.
Yeah, and I think that's really important, that voice comes from whether it's our subconscious mind or wherever it is, as part of our body. And so at some point, even though we might not love them at the time when they're saying the things that they say or whispering them or shouting, whatever it is, I think that we can have that relationship with them to know when to listen carefully, but also thanking them, and maybe we'll move to a much more kinder self.
Yeah, I mean, this is the absolute key when it comes to really making peace. It's not just elevating and nourishing and nurturing ourselves with a compassionate voice. It's actually understanding the power and, it sounds strange to say, but the love and protective nature of our critical voice. I mean, it blew me away when I was first invited to consider that my critical voice might be there to look after me. And I was like, You have not heard it.
I don't
Are
think
you
so.
kidding? It's mean. It's nothing in here is publishable. I couldn't say any of this out loud. And then recognizing, maybe this very unskillful voice is trying to keep me safe.
Yeah.
It doesn't want me to make an ass of myself. Oh, sorry.
We love that
again.
No, we're keeping that. That's great.
Yeah, it doesn't want me to look an idiot, fall over, embarrass myself, whatever it is. So let me get in there first and tell you, don't do that talk. Don't do the podcast. Oh, you could say something inappropriate, then people will judge you. Stay in your room, Kathryn. So in answer to your question, if we go full circle about this, why this is so essential for our psychological well-being, if we don't make friends with Crusher, which is the ultimate goal, it's not the starting point with the children's book, but it is ultimately a great way to make peace, to make friends with Crusher. But first of all, we need to understand our booster, our compassionate voice. But if our critical voice is so loud, that's all we can hear. And I've had clients and trainees coming onto my courses saying, I just want to learn the mindfulness bit. I don't have a critical voice. So if we could just focus on that. Now, this demonstrates, so I quietly go, okay, yep. All right, let's see. Now, obviously, when we start unraveling and looking inside, the horror that obviously these people discover, this just is chronically critical. This is just, I thought it was just the thing. That's all it. This is why I never imagined I could be fixed. Well, we can talk about fixing later. But so suddenly, we don't fix in self-compassion. We do not fix. Just let me be clear. It's not a fixing modality. But of course, this critical voice is so loud and so chronic that that's just the norm. They don't believe that they have one. They don't even hear how painful what's being said to them inside their head, or sometimes that external critical voice, they don't hear either because it's just the norm. So we know that if we just hear that one-sided, negative, unkind voice all the time, this will take us down a route of anxiety, depression. It will take us to that place of wanting to isolate it, or it will drive us to a place of burnout, usually because perfectionism is pushing us to be better all the time. We know that it will increase stress. We will have chronic stress, which we know leads to all sorts of health issues. Our self-esteem is going to be affected. Our self-confidence is going to be affected. Our ability to build relationships healthily is going to be affected, or sustain those relationships. Our ability to cope with any trauma, any unexpected event, making a mistake. I mean, the layers and layers and layers of this is really, really painful. And of course, as time goes on, if we are so hugely critical toward ourselves, we know that we will become extremely overtly critical to others.
Yeah.
And the pain that this develops, the self-doubt through self-criticism, the self-hate, the self-loathing, obviously it can, obviously all aspects of ourselves, our internal concept of ourselves and our external perception of our bodies and how we look and our beauty, and layers and layers and layers and layers causes this terrible internal psychological distress. I can't say it strongly enough that if we do not recognize what's going on, and we don't come to that place where you recognize, oh, actually, I can turn the volume down on this voice. Oh, actually, I see you don't want me to make a fool of myself. I know. Thanks for checking in, but fantastic information. I'll take care. Back in your box. I love you. You're all right. I'm okay just as I am. Even if I've got acne, even if I've got glasses, even if all the potential judgments that children and young people will get. I'm still okay. Crusher, it's all right. Stay with me. Thank you for wanting to keep keeping me safe. But if we don't have that, this critical voice will potentially cause a great deal of suffering, our inability to accept our humanness, our constant criticism of our flaws or perceived flaws, imposter syndrome, the comparison trap. I'm just not as pretty as Lisa. Thank goodness we're not recording this on video. And if you watch friends and family, it's there all the time, even if it's quite subtle sometimes. And we accept it in our culture as almost the norm. Especially, I'm going to wave the flag for women now, especially for women who need to be seen and show up, and what the perfect woman looks like, and that streamlined body, and God forbid we should age and actually have demonstration that we've actually lived a bit, or any scars. Let's see if we can get rid of those scars, and so on and so on and so on. And it's insidious in our culture, certainly in Western culture. So yes, the self-compassion, I believe, is the foundational holding, the embrace, the container, the support, the love, the absolute foundation of well-being, mind, body, heart. Because no matter what, I can honestly say now, sadly, my mum was very, very ill at the end of last year, and she was suffering from dementia. It was the most ghastly thing I have ever had to try and support and navigate. And she unexpectedly died just before Christmas. Now, I mention that because I know I've responded to the whole evolution of her illness very differently to 10 years ago, if that had been happening, because I had self-compassion holding me. I knew that no matter how bad it got, I had my own back, that I could acknowledge, this is really painful, this really hurts. I could include myself in the suffering. It wasn't me in the hospital bed. It wasn't me that was disappearing, my beautiful, radiant, lovely, funny, energetic personality fading away. But I can include myself in the suffering that I'm losing my mum, and as I knew her. Now, that's fully human. And that's a very different way of holding a very, very painful and very human experience. And I feel so blessed, so lucky, so forever grateful that I know now I'm still going to make mistakes. I'm still going to maybe say the wrong thing and upset my friends. I still may forget someone's birthday. I still may, I don't know, whatever mistakes and flaws and things. I will still show up and go, oh my gosh, these wrinkles. Oh, how are they? What's happening to my face? And all the judgments still about not being the size 10 I'd love to be. And they'll still pop up. My humanity is here. If I wanted to be other than human, I'd be an enlightened master. Then I wouldn't need this humanness. I wouldn't need this body. So I'm celebrating that I'm in this amazing body. That is one of my biggest teachers, that I still struggle with, that I still judge. And I go, oh no, I've got another line. How is that possible? Or, oh no, I've been working so hard on my eating plan, and I was, where's my waistline? Whatever it is. And I can still bring kindness, friendliness, supportive words, a loving, kind tone to those judgments and say, hey, Kathryn, I know. not ideal, or yes, you made a mistake. Well, what you need to do, take a breath, begin again. Kindness to this one. You are allowed to be human, and go and apologize if that's necessary, or whatever it is. But I feel held in a way that I don't need one more modality on the outside. And I'm not decrying any of these. Some of them are absolutely inspirational and can help build my compassionate voice and build that my booster, and help me understand myself more. But ultimately, there is this kindness in me that has always been there, but I didn't have the ability to receive it.
Yeah. But you also added and dialed up that kindness, the self-compassion switch to enable that to be received.
Yes.
Yeah.
Learn the skills. It is a skill. We can learn it. Who knew? There's some ways in. There's a way to open the door. There's some and the beauty of self-compassion is that it's very simple. Almost too simple. We said, no, that's not going to make any difference. But I know the simplest of practices. But it is practice. It is about these tiny little droplets, these tiny gestures of kindness, these tiny gestures of meeting oneself with compassion when something goes wrong. They add up.
Absolutely.
They are life-changing.
Yeah.
I love how you referred to that container of self-compassion. I think I had this visual moment of thinking about how we can be so caught up in proving that mean internal voice right that we don't stop and turn around and actually stand up to it and prove it wrong. And I think from what you've expressed here about self-compassion is that way towards that, standing up to that mean voice and having the courage, I guess, in some ways to move forward through whatever we're saying to ourselves or whatever the experience is.
And I think the key there, Leanne, is actually we are meeting the critical voice. Now, for a lot of us, we're completely unconscious to it. I just thought it was just the way I was. I didn't know that I could actually, there was any control or that there was anything. But we have to notice that first, and it's the willingness to meet it and go, oh, that's not nice. That's not nice. Would you say that to your friend? I don't think you would. And so what's beautiful is when we start to get closer or shine a light and hopefully a very warm, tender, understanding light, which can be very difficult if you've had decades of meanness coming from this, but very slowly, very gently coming toward and meeting this critical voice and personifying. It's really helpful to have crushes. It's like, oh, hello, old friend. All right. Yes, I hear you. Thank you for visiting. And then building that relationship so that actually we don't need to prove anything to Crusher. Actually, we love Crusher to death. So that Crusher then eventually just disappears into our heart because it feels so safe that you're safe. That Crusher your critical voice doesn't have to yell and scream and kick and bite and snipe anymore.
Quite understand.
Yes, it's really, really curious. Now, that takes a lot of work. And I would say the first step is, of course, to really start to consider, that compassionate voice that I have for my friends, my loved ones, my students, my whatever. I need to practice that. I need to start honing my ability to, I was going to say receive it, but there's almost a step before that, is actually, what does this sound like? What does it feel like? How do I know that there's a compassionate voice in there? And what does it feel like for me to turn that inward? Oh, quite uncomfortable usually. Often a lot of tears. There can be something that Chris Germer calls a backdraft. We just go, oof, oh, too much kindness. Oof, no. When you're having a stressy day, and you're just holding on, and then your best friend comes in and says, "Hey," can just see it, even though you're doing your best job to pretend. And I'm fine. And they see it, and they go to give you a hug, or they say something nice. You go, please don't, because I will be a puddle on the floor in a second.
Yeah.
And that can happen with the compassionate voice at first. It can be uncomfortable to start receiving it. So just to know that, so we want to be super gentle. We want to really practice, well, what can I receive? What can I hear? I was interviewing one of my lovely graduates yesterday, and we ended up talking about how we look and things. And it's still, she's a similar age to me, and she's still got a little glassy-eyed when I showered her with some compliments. And she's like, ooh. And they were true. They are my perception, my belief, what I see. I'm speaking truth. And still with many years of practice, that's still really hard. So there'll be elements of our self-compassion practice we can receive more easily. There'll be aspects of ourselves that there'll be more resistance, and that's okay. Just go very gently.
Yeah. I really love that.
Yeah. When we talk about self-compassion, and you mentioned before about that U-turn, turning it back on yourself, I really connected with that way of putting it. What is a practical self-compassion technique or exercise that our listeners might begin experimenting with today?
Well, I do have a little one up my sleeve that I think is the absolute core, helping people begin the journey. And so I can just guide a little. We can spend half an hour on it. We can spend 2 minutes on it, but it will still be. It's still the most powerful, I think, foundational set of questions that we can really look at. It's a pen and paper exercise if you fancy joining along.
Okay.
But for listeners, if they want to just close their eyes, or they can even pause it and write lots. I found it very powerful when I wrote it, because then I could then look at my answers and create some space between me and the answers, and then it feels a lot more real. So this is a very simple exercise that happens in the Mindful Self-Compassion course in the first session. And it's simply, there'll be 2 questions, and we'll simply just have a little look inside and go, wow, what's that like? So if you'd like to just close your eyes for a moment and take a lovely deep breath. Because we have been talking a lot, so you can let all the words go, and as you breathe out, just enjoy being supported by your chair, maybe feeling the sensation of your feet on the floor. And just noticing that the breath continues to move in and out without you having to think or do anything. And just simply softening yourself. If there is any holding or tension, you may like to give yourself a wiggle and just relax. And then just noticing you have a friend, dear friend, and your friend is struggling in some way. They've made a mistake. They've made a right blunder at work. Maybe they've made a fool of themselves. Maybe they failed at something and they're just feeling a bit wretched. Just consider, how do you typically respond to your friend in this situation? What do you say to them? What happens with your tone of voice? What gestures do you offer with your body? How does your body language change? How do you typically respond when your friend is suffering or struggling in some way? And you may have images in your mind, paint pictures, hear sounds of the way your tone of voice is. You may like to write down some words maybe that you'd say or what you'd do. Just spend a moment noticing, how do you typically respond to a dear friend when they're suffering or struggling in some way? Okay, so if you'd like to take a nice deep breath and imagine just releasing that scenario and coming back to neutral, maybe having a little jiggle and a wiggle, maybe a gentle smile and a breath, and then tuning back into yourself as the second scenario arises. So now we're going to explore how you typically respond when it's you that's made a mistake, that's failed at something, that's made a blunder at work, struggling in some way. How do you typically respond to yourself when something's gone wrong? You're feeling wretched. What happens to your body? What words do you say inside your head or out loud? What tone do you use with yourself? Again, just be curious, just notice. Maybe there's some images in your mind's eye, some sounds, words. Maybe you'd like to write down what you do, what happens to your body. Just notice. Very good. All right, another nice deep breath. Allow yourself to have a wiggle and a jiggle. Release that scenario. Come back to neutral. Just allow yourself to settle, especially if that was uncomfortable. And then just stepping back and noticing scenario 1 and noticing scenario 2 and seeing if there was any difference. Just be curious. This isn't a place that we're not here to judge. We're simply observing, being curious, noticing as best we can without judging ourselves. And then with a lovely deep breath, releasing the practice, softly opening your eyes, just noticing how you're feeling. And then just take a moment. If you're listening to you're able to press pause, you may want to have a moment, get a little cup of tea and a stretch. But simply notice now and reflect on that experience. So, question 1, how do you treat a friend when they're struggling? How do you respond?
You're there for them, aren't you?
Listen was the words that came to me. The listening, being peaceful with them.
Offering reassuring words.
Yes, a hug if needed. Just care, compassion, straight away. No judgment. As a kind friend.
Would you spend time with them? Would you say, look, I've got 2 minutes while you're crying. Can you just hurry it up?
No, perhaps not.
So we do,
But that's what
don't
we
we?
would say to ourselves, perhaps.
Yeah. Now there we have it. So let's springboard in. How was it? What happened to your body? What words? What was the tone like?
Mine straight away came up when it was just a mistake, and I was like, oh, trust you. The same sort of things that we do all the time, and I'm so comfortable with self-compassion and use it a lot, but immediately when that critical voice just slams you, that's the same thing. You're hopeless. Of course you got that wrong. Then you get angry because you're frustrated because you do that, and like all those things, and you just go, seriously? I've just let my self-compassion fly out the window, no regard for it at that time. And I know I should be. So that's the challenge, isn't it? Attention.
Well, and even noticing the should. There's Crusher again. I should know better. You wait till you become a self-compassion teacher.
Yeah.
We're supposed to be perfect by then. It's like, oh my gosh. And then we catch it and go, oh no. Oh no. How can that still be possible after 10 years of practice? No. And it is, because there we are, fully human. So what was your tone like? Yes, it's sneaky.
My tone was horrible.
Yeah.
Like it was flat and not exciting at all. Like it's just. Oh.
I often describe my inner voice as Miranda. She sounds a lot like Miranda from Devil Wears Prada. You stupid girl. You're so. Why would you say that? Things like that. She's so mean.
Yeah, and of course, usually where that voice will go is it'll hook into your negative core beliefs.
That you're not smart enough to do this.
Well, you're stupid anyway.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, hello. Can I ask a question, Kathryn? One thing that I've been learning about self-compassion, and I just naturally do it now as part of that sort of same meditation process, I put my hand sort of over the top of my heart. At any time there's something that I'm feeling uncomfortable about, I just naturally do that and just take a little breath. Now, I don't think anyone can see it. It's just me. I've got this. And is that part of trying to slow that critical voice down or turn it right down, because I've already noticed that I need that self-compassion?
Well, what you're doing is you're offering yourself soothing touch. We call it soothing or supportive touch through the self-compassion practice. So you're activating the mammalian caregiving system.
Yeah.
So we know when we're little, if we touch, if we cradle a baby, if we stroke the baby, or it could be a kitten, a puppy, you're rocking. Yeah. So we know touch is very, very powerful. So you've innately started offering yourself what you need.
Yeah.
And through touch, you've got that reassurance. It's okay. This is okay. Now, we can do a little practice around this, but so soothing or supportive touch, there's a beautiful way to come back to ourselves. Now, it's interesting when you said, no one really knows what I'm doing. They don't really notice it. Well, we can experiment with, where on my body do I receive that reassuring, that sense of, I'm okay, it's okay, it's all right, sweetheart. That loving, tender voice through the gesture of touch. Now, for me, my soothing touch place is actually to stroke the back of my hand. So there's an exercise where, you see, lovely, Leanne's holding. Beautiful. Now, what I discovered when I discovered this, I wept every time I practiced for about 2 weeks. It's quite an extreme response, I think. I haven't met anyone that, just to reassure your listeners, it's all right. But it was the first time I got a real tangible, visceral experience of my loving kindness toward myself. I received through my body, through the senses, that somatic experience of my caring back to me. And I melted every time because it was so, so powerful.
Yeah.
But it's quite interesting you mentioning, well, no one really knows what you're doing. I had a friend who was in hospital. She'd suddenly been diagnosed with leukemia, and I sat in the hospital loving and caring and being with her, and I quietly stroked the back of my hand when I wasn't holding hers to say, yes, Kathryn, this is frightening. This is difficult. You see, in the past, I'd be the brave one, and I'd walk in and go,
"You'll be right.
Come on now, you're going to be okay. Everything's going to be all right." And I would push away most of the real emotion that's going on, which is, I don't want my friend to die. I'm really scared. Will I say the right thing? Will I cope? Or if I cry in front of it, is that the kindest? That's not going to help her just because she's losing her hair. Will I look shocked? And including ourselves in those moments. And this is what the soothing touch, what you're doing in that moment, you're noticing, you're then bringing a gesture of kindness and compassion toward yourself. There may be some words that then are attached to that loving gesture, but that I've got you. I warmly encourage a lot of my graduates, let's have a big hug now, shall we? A lot of people naturally do this when they're stressed.
Yeah.
Some people, sorry, just for obviously people are listening, that's stroking the arms down. Some people just hold the back of their neck when they're stressed. This is actually all beautiful compassion practice. Now, it's different for everybody. Some people really just, oh yes, I feel so much calmer with that loving hand over my heart. Some people, if they connect with their own hand, hold their own hand, stroke their own hand, or maybe just hold their tummy, then there's a reassurance. So we call it soothing or supportive touch. You can have self-compassion isn't just, oh, let me look after you and make it all better. It is that. I'm exaggerating a bit, but when people have resistance to self-compassion, there can be that resistance that, oh, it's just all fluffy and nice. Actually, a fierce self-compassionate voice can say, come on now, you can do this, get up. Get up, get out of bed, and you get in that shower, young lady, and you put your head up high. It doesn't matter that you made a blunder at work yesterday. You can go in again and you can sort it out. Now, we can use a gesture of compassion. Let's see if I can show you. So we can have a fist over our heart. We can create that there's strength here, there's courage here. And then we can wrap our tender hand around that. I find this very, very powerful when I am having a wobble, when I'm nervous about something. I can breathe in that, having that extra strength inside me, and I'm activating it through that gesture, and then holding myself tenderly still. So touch and gestures can be really powerful. So it's all aspects of self-compassion through physical touch, is what you're describing. And it can activate, obviously, the oxytocin, that the love hug hormone is going to be activated. You're going to feel better. You may feel safer, so that may calm down that critical voice. But ultimately, you're really uplifting and strengthening that kindness and compassion within.
Thank you so much.
Just beautiful. Thank you.
I'm just thinking almost immediately about, you've termed in your conversation about crusher and booster. And so it's a really lovely little segue into our next question, because as adults, we can understand the impact of our inner voice and how it can impact the way that we show up in the world. But you've written a book, about a children's book, that can actually help and support us a bit more, and it's called The Voice in My Head. There's also a program that's soon to be launched as a beautiful program in schools to begin helping children to understand compassionate work with their internal voices. Could you help us to understand a little bit more about the book and how it's being supportive for our younger children?
So the voices in my head are literally that. We're looking at crusher, the critical voice, and apologies for just leaping into talking about crusher and booster all the time. This is the language we use, and I use it with all of my graduates, all of my learners and clients as well, because they get it. When I showed the book to my son, who was about, I think he was about 21, 20, when I said, ta-da, this is, and he finished reading it and he said, Mum, this isn't just for kids, don't you? It was really lovely. And what we're discovering is, of course, this book is a co-journey. So we've got Crusher, the critical voice. So he's a green, hairy, mean monster-y with big boots on that kicks you if he can. And then we've got Booster, who is this colourful, rainbowy creature that is our compassionate voice. Now, what we're doing is we're exploring in the book different scenarios that children may experience. And they're simple things. They're playing a game and then they can't remember how to play it, or they make a mistake and boom, Crusher's there going, oh, you're so stupid. And Crusher has a really unpleasant way with words and hurts the child. Those thoughts are hurtful. And then what we do is we explore several different scenarios in the book, and it's all Crusher. And how does it feel when Crusher's? It's really painful. And what is Crusher like? So what we're doing is we're making the invisible visible. And this is really, really important because the children get it. They don't need the science. There's a lot of research, evidence-based, sciencey stuff about all this magical work. But this is the distillation, the purest. I'm passionate about keeping things simple so that we can access it. And I really believe, I'm heartbroken because again and again, when people pick up the book for the first time for their child and they read it and say, I wish I had this book when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And there's decades and decades of suffering and battling with this inner critic that we're trying to keep back in the box, trying to turn the volume down on it. And actually we can, as you so beautifully said earlier, we can learn to make friends with this. But the first step, and this is why I feel so passionately, golly, how different would my life have been had I understood about Crusher and that I had a booster. No one told me, no one. I needed it to be explicit that I could be as kind to all of the people I was being helpful as a brownie and to myself. And that when I was scared in hospital, when I was in pain, when I didn't feel like I belonged because I wasn't the cool kid at school, when I struggled to pass that darn physics test. Oh, I loved physics, but I'm not a mathematician or a physicist. But there could be another voice. And if I had had this voice inside my head that was equally as loud, hopefully in time louder than the critical voice, then I could have reassured myself and not looked outside myself to get approval, not looked at, let me be the most helpful little girl in the world so that someone says I'm okay for a few minutes, that I'm good enough in this moment. So Booster and Crusher, so we've got all these little scenarios and they're the same scenario in the second half of the book, but they're in different environments. but it's the same struggle. Colouring outside the lines. I used to get so cross when I coloured outside the lines. Even at home when I was supposed to be having fun, just at home. And so what we do is we then look through the lens of a compassionate voice. Same situation, but then, I wonder how my booster would respond if I still made the same mistake, or I still couldn't answer the question in class, or I'm not feeling very pretty because I'm at a party and my friend's got a really pretty dress on and I don't have it. Mm-hmm. And to hear and to practice that compassionate voice, to again make the invisible visible. And this is where the co-journey happens with parents, with educators, with coaches. They can, we hope we do our best as parents, don't we, to model a compassionate response. Yeah. Oh, honey, you didn't get the team. I'm so sorry. That's really hard. Oh, that must really feel terribly disappointing. Well, I'm so proud of you for entering that competition or trying out for the team anyway. We can keep trying. We can practice those kicking skills or whatever it is. And so the idea so by the end of the book, they see, there is a different voice. And this voice can help us feel energized and strong and begin to help us believe in ourselves, even if we are last in the running race or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And what I really encourage, I say this at the front of the book, that mums and dads and carers and grandparents and teachers, they can sit alongside, there's a colouring book as well, sit alongside as you're colouring and share, well, what does your crusher look like? Oh, my crusher's all grey and he's very grumpy. And to normalise these two voices. It's perfectly natural. You're not wrong for having them. And we have a choice. We can learn to turn down the volume on crusher and eventually, over time, as we grow up, understand that crusher's there to keep us safe. Actually has good intention, but terrible methodology. Terrible. And then let's focus when we're really little. From little, we can get it embedded really young, that there is this kindness within us. There is this love and kindness and compassion that, oh my goodness, when you see a friend fall over in the playground, that part of you that rushes over to rub their knee and wipe their tears and help them up, you can be that kind friend to yourself.
That's so beautiful, Kathryn. Thank you so much for sharing this lovely program with us. I'm sure it's just so helpful. You said making the invisible visible. I think that is a wonderful way to put it and so empowering to young people, but not only the young people, those people reading along with them and listening too. As we come towards the end of our lovely time together, I'm so grateful for the conversation today. Besides your amazing books and program, of course, which we will be sharing the links for in our show notes today, we'd love to know, do you have a book, a podcast, or a TED Talk that you might like to share with listeners today that might be of value for them?
Well, I haven't been on TED yet. Yet. I will be bringing Booster and Crusher to a TED Talk one day.
Oh, how wonderful.
But I do have something called the Little Book of Self-Compassion. Just a little book. It literally is a little book. That's a really lovely starting point for adults or young people and adults it's again a deep bow to the mindful self-compassion work that Kristen Neff and Christopher Gorman created many, many years ago. But it's a pocket-size first entry because it can stay very simple. We don't have to make it complicated. We don't need to be a practicing Buddhist or an academic to pick up the skills of self-compassion. So the little book of self-compassion is really good. And if parents, carers, educators want to know more, I've done a little video about Booster and how Booster and Crusher, the Booster Way works. So you can visit theboosterway.com. That's one way in, or kindmindacademy.com is another way. But most weeks, well, for a very long time, I've been volunteering for the Centre of Mindful Self-Compassion, and there's lots of practices, meditative practices that they can tap into on YouTube. There's lots of ways in that you can access some touch points to start your personal journey. Obviously, you can buy the books. Little plug, buy the books. And you can get them on Amazon. But there's reflections and insights and things on the Kind Mind Academy YouTube channel. So that's an easy starting point. I love a bit of YouTube. I feel more connected when I'm with a human. I can see and hear, and I regularly share content around our well-being journey and how self-compassion can really support that. And if anyone wants to get in contact with me, obviously I'm on LinkedIn. And there's also, if you wanted to regularly, we have a regular video. We have something called Sunday Strolls. So that's a sense and savor meditation. We have a few volunteers, and myself included. We put out a video every week if you'd like to have one of those, where we practice mindfulness and we have some reflection time. But I did one on my birthday at see if I get the name right, Wirrawilla rainforest, when we were walking around and really connecting with nature and things. So you can always go onto the Kind Mind Academy and sign up. Obviously, there's an opportunity. If you go to Kind Mind Academy, you can also take the test. How self-compassionate are you?
Beautiful.
That's a really great starting point as well. And there's a lovely, we celebrate World Kindness Day every year, which is in November, and we have a wonderful kindness coordinator. Barbara does a lovely piece each week. So if people want to have a little touch base on a reflection, and we always pose a question about, well, this is your challenge for this week about how to be more self-compassionate, how to be kind to yourself this week. That's rather lovely too. So I hope that answers your question.
Oh, thank you so much, Kathryn. We are just so grateful for the time that we've had with you today. And thank you so much for helping our listeners understand more about self-compassion, their crusher voice and their booster voice, and how to really make that invisible visible. I really love that term, and you've really empowered us, especially with those lovely exercises that you shared with us. So Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I absolutely love sharing the message, and hopefully the more people that practice self-compassion, the more people are hopefully going to be more peaceful with themselves, and therefore hopefully we'll have more peace in the world. So thank you for continuing to do your beautiful work and sharing this message of self-compassion. And if we can empower our children, oh my goodness, how different will our world evolve.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we definitely need more kindness. So thank you so much for today again. It was such a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you so much for having me.
What a great conversation. Oh my gosh, I'm still absorbing everything that Kathryn has just shared with us.
She's an incredible woman with a wonderful story. And it's so fascinating that story could be my story, could be your story, could be anyone else's story.
Yeah, I connected with everything she said. It was almost like she was talking about me in many things. I wonder if that's the same for you and the listeners. There was just so much there. But something that I took from that was that making the invisible visible.
Absolutely.
Making it visible.
Yeah.
Because then we can wake up and stand up to it.
Absolutely. And also the other part that I thought was great was that U-turn. to give a U-turn to yourself. So yes, because I know so many of us, even the guests that we've had before, we've always been able to give to others easily. Simple, easily, not a problem. But very rarely do we do the U-turn back at us and have that self-compassion and kindness to us. And I have to say, I reckon for however long, since 2018, 19, I don't know, whatever it was, it's taken time to actually turn that U-turn and actually do something with it. I do remember almost one of our very first conversations, Leanne, when I read Big Magic. And they were talking about that inner critic that always wants to be in control and tell you what you have to do and how pathetic you are and you're not enough, all of those things. But we were able to say, hang on a minute, we've got this. Thank you for being safe. We know we need you, but you can jump back into the back seat because we're okay. Don't touch the radio. I've got the music on today. I'm driving. I'm good. So we've sort of got that, but the self-compassion is always there for us if we need to, if we're allowed in.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, wow. Okay. Well,
have a great
You too. All right. Bye.
Take care, everyone. Bye.
And thank you for listening to the Imperfect Us podcast. As always, we are extremely grateful to our executive producer, Brenton Ainsworth, for helping us to put this episode together. If you've enjoyed this podcast, please share it with someone you care about, and we would be grateful if you could rate this podcast on iTunes. To continue the conversation and see what we're up to, you can connect with us on LinkedIn. Just search for Imperfect Us. Bye for now.